You want to try that again?
Let's try that again. Okay. Hey, guys, this is Lavetta.
And this is Miriam.
And this is Notorious Women Podcast, a comedy podcast about some of history's most notorious women. We're professionals. Listen,
That's right. That's right.
Only 20,011 episodes, and we finally nailed the opening, maybe?
Do you ever think about the thousands of dollars you spent on the degree of the performing arts? Do you ever think about that?
All the time. It haunts me. You know, one of my dreams is that my college degree is haunting me, is taunting me. Lavetta.
I was talking to someone about that.
I'm still here.
She said she got her, so funny. She got her diploma and she thought I could have bought a house.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, you could have bought a house.
Yeah, girl.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could have had plastic surgery in Korea by now.
Okay.
It had 20 million.
No, that's a bad idea.
Random.
So, no, you could have been.
I don't know. I don't know. If I ever get plastic surgery, I'm definitely going to Korea, not Beverly Hills.
Listen, if you ever go to me and say, I'm getting plastic surgery, I'm like, no, we're going to Southeast Asia. We're backpacking for 3 months. We're going to take that money. I have a plan. This is going to be good.
I mean, you never know. But if I were ever going to do it, I'm telling you, have you ever seen K-pop dramas or K-pop or any of those people?
I mean, I've danced to a lot of K-pop. Yes.
98% of famous South Korean artists in the entertainment industry have had plastic surgery. That's how good it is. And it looks very natural, I will say.
That's too much.
I mean, listen, I'm just saying, I agree.
Right.
I want you to do what makes you happy as long as it's not, tied to some like weird, like self-hate kind of
Right.
Thing
maybe like go to the therapy and do that stuff. And then when the therapy is like, oh, I love myself again, but I'm going to do this to like enhance, then off to Korea you go. Sure.
Yeah,
but,
it's like hair color, right? It's like hair color or getting bangs. Like, just like don't do it if you're like.
Don't do it for a man or a woman or, right? Don't do it for somebody else.
Yep.
But do it for you all day. But I'm just saying, with that money, Lavetta, we could travel. Yes, I would be using some of your money to travel. That is part of my plan, which I can understand maybe you have an opinion about.
Yeah, now I see what you're doing. I see what you think you're slick. I think you're slick. So I see what you're doing. Well, you know what? Before we get into spending any more money, that imaginary money, let's get started.
Okay. Because I can spend imaginary money all day.
You and me both, sister. You and me both. I think I am first this week. Okay, so for our listeners who may be new, if you don't know how this works, because apparently we don't, even though we've been doing this a long time.
Yeah, it's fine.
Just a quick explanation. Every week we meet up and we tell each other the story of a notorious woman that we either admire or we're like, this bitch right here. And we don't each of us, we don't know what the other person is going to say or who the other person is going to cover. So it's a surprise. It's delightful. And
sometimes terrifying. Okay.
Yes. Sometimes sometimes hilarious because you're like, what is it? Truth is stranger than fiction often. You're just what?
That's what I'm learning on this podcast. I'll tell you that.
You and me both. Okay, so let's get started. So my notorious woman this week is I'm taking it old school. Like old, like old school. They don't say old. They say old. Old school. This is like
it's a good job workout.
Old school.
Okay.
This is like AD. This is what I'm talking about. Like AD.
Okay.
When you get into dates with AD, that's old school. So,
my lady. Okay.
Well, my notorious woman, and forgive me for the pronunciation, I'm going to butcher it. I barely have a grasp of the English language. So, there's that. So forgive me. Give me some grace. So this week I am covering a wonderful, like badass woman by the name of,
all right,
Kalomt'e K'abel. Kalomt'e K'abel.
Oh, her.
I may have butchered that, but again. Now, my sources today come from LatinaRepublic.com, an article from that website in 2020 by Hannah Fontaine.
Okay.
And it's about historical Guatemalan women.
Okay.
And the Daily Mail, there's an article also by Damian Gale in 2012, a Daily Mail article. So those are my major sources and a few others, but those are my major sources for this. Now,
okay.
Kalomt'e K'abel is also AKA. You want me to spell it?
Yes, please.
Okay. Kalomt'e, I believe, is KALOMT apostrophe E.
Okay.
Kalomt'e, and K'abel is K apostrophe ABEL.
Okay. K'abel. I don't know. I'll stop.
It could be. I mean, I'll say Lady K'abel, right? She was also known as that. Now, she was the queen of the Wak kingdom of the classic period of the Mayan civilization.
Okay.
She was also referred to as the Holy Snake Lord.
Wow.
Now, Lady K'abel ruled with her husband, Kai Inich Balam. And together they were the most powerful rulers of the Mayan late classic period for about 20 years between 672 through 692 AD.
Dang. Okay, back in the day.
Yeah, that's what I said. Old. I was talking about old, like old school. Now, so they ruled together. Now, side note, Guatemala. So this would be in modern day Guatemala. Guatemala is full of pyramids and ruins from the ancient Mayan civilization, which thrived between 250 AD and 900 AD.
Okay. Wow. That's a long time.
Yeah, it's a very long time. And their civilization, the area extended from modern day Honduras through central Mexico. So,
okay.
Yeah. So we don't know a lot about her, but what we do know came mostly from an archaeological find in 2012.
Oh, okay.
Now, throughout Mayan history, they've seen her name mentioned throughout different things, but they really didn't know a lot about her.
Okay.
So in 2012, like I said, they discovered her tomb in the royal Mayan city of El Peru, Huacán, Guatemala, near the border of Belize.
Okay. So I've always wanted to go snorkeling there. That's all I know.
Yeah. I've always wanted to see the Mayan ruins in general. So
yes, and then I want to jump back into the ocean. Okay.
Yeah. Now, even though they said, oh, she's the queen, he's the king, historians now believe from this find that she was actually more powerful than her husband, so she outranked her husband.
Yes, she was. Okay.
Yeah. So, like I said, prior to the discovery, there are a few historical records that made references to Lady K'abel, both in art and writing, as a powerful ruler of a Mayan kingdom. But after this find, when they realized that where she was buried, so now a little bit about what Lady K'abel and her king ruled. It said that historians believe that the community she ruled often battled a rival kingdom run by King El Zot and his kingdom in Tikal, just south of the border with present day Mexico.
Okay.
So, and there they have like well-preserved ruins. So it's believed that Lady K'abel and El Zot fought a lot. So they were...
Okay.
Yeah.
That feels right. That feels very human history to me. Yeah.
And she, in the written record, she is referred to as both as Kalomt'e, which means supreme warrior.
Yeah.
And K'abel, or Lady Snake Lord. So
okay,
she had
girl.
a lot of different... Yeah. And in this tomb, it was filled with like jade jewelry, obsidian, knives, and vases inscribed with an image of the queen's face and inscribed with her name, confirming the identity. And also, because of where this tomb was located, it shows her importance. Because she was kind of like, she was buried in a place that they thought that they were surprised at. They thought she would be buried in another place, but they realized that she was buried separate from other people because she was the queen ruler.
Okay.
Yeah.
Listen, that's why you can't stop fighting for women's rights.
That's right.
Apparently they understood it in 672 AD or something, right? Okay, so they knew things.
They know things. And what's so interesting about their find is that they found a white alabaster vessel carved as a conch shell with the head and arm of an aged woman, of an older woman.
Oh, okay.
Emerging from the opening. So the depiction of her mature with a lined face and strands of hair in front of her hair, that's even more extraordinary. Like her age was revered. It wasn't something to cover up, and like not like a lot of the European portraits. That's not how those rulers look. It's how they wanted to look.
Yeah, listen. Can we get back to this where she was like, "Yeah, I aged this far. Okay, yeah. My hair is gray. Jealous? You are. That's what I'm going for. Okay."
Now, again, they were surprised to find this tomb because she was laid to rest at the center of El Peruwaka among plazas, palaces, and temples. And now they understand that she was so near a temple. And they understood that you would think she'd be buried like high, separate from people, but she was actually buried with her people. And this position of where she was buried also shows that how important she was. Because again, they kind of heard of her, but you don't know. And then you think, oh, is she just the wife of... right?
Yeah.
No. So, and again, she was in the center of a Mayan, like a place of worship in a Mayan kingdom, which is the highest level of honor. And so it's now just also another side note, the Mayan kingdom is the only North American civilization with an extensive written and artistic record that has been supported by archaeological materials through the excavations of past centuries. So it's one of the few ones where we can actually find physical and written records as well. It's not just an oral tradition.
That is cool.
Yeah. There's also an image of her on a famous Maya stela, which is a freestanding stone that's available to view in the Cleveland Art Museum.
Oh, really? Yeah. Okay. You know, Sal's from Cleveland, so he's going to be like, see, we have culture. And I'll be like, yes.
I mean, I hope they borrowed it. I hope they just go down there.
I hope they understand that it's not really theirs. You know, that kind of thing. Yeah.
And what makes her Lady K'abel so important? Again, we don't know a lot about her, but I mean, this is remarkable, you know. And I think sometimes when you find these women in history, it's their identity and their place in the world is obscured on purpose.
Yes, I think so too. I think more was known. I'm a conspiracy theorist, like occasionally maybe, but it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, especially after the Europeans came and colonized, and then they brought their own, values. They brought their own value systems.
Europeans do not like most people. When they conquered, they were basically like, are you a cis white man? And if the answer was no, then you were put back in line. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, and again, France and England had 100-year war. So when people are like, oh, those thugs, they don't know. People, why are we always fighting each other? I'm like, the Europeans fought each other for hundreds of years. So yeah.
European on European violence is something we should really talk about more.
Exactly.
This is really sad.
Oh my God. So that's why I think a lot of times, historical women, particularly, like you said, we're in AD territory, like their positions and their power and their contributions to civilization have been obscured on purpose, I think. And so,
we're bringing it back.
Exactly. This discovery was really, really interesting. And not surprising to, I think, most women were like, yeah, that tracks. But it also suggests that other women could have held a significant position of power during the Mayan rule. That history has forgotten or been obscured out, smudged out on purpose.
Mm-hmm. It suggests that in that culture for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, it was normal and natural for women to have that level of power.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Now, this is a short one because we don't know a lot about Lady K'abel, but one of the scholars that's been following this, a Guatemalan archaeologist by the name of Griselda Perez, says, quote, "We had made a lot of discoveries of objects making reference to this queen, and now to complete it with her remains is very important," end quote. Because they had heard a little bit about her. It's kind of like you're reading, hieroglyphics and you don't know. But to actually find her tomb was so exciting for the archaeologists and historians because you actually have physical proof, which, again, a lot of it has been obscured on purpose to, besmudge these women. Because it's like, oh, women are not capable. And it's like, oh,
you're also besmudging the entire culture. The idea that they were functioning just fine without you.
Yeah.
If I look back to how we were taught, how the Americas were created almost.
Yep.
So-and-so discovered the country and then brought people over. And that's why we're here. It's like, oh, the country has been here the whole time. There have been people here. It was peopled by massive
civilizations who've been here for...
That's the word.
Yep. And so, it's just, again, this is a very short one this week, I'm fascinated by the Lady Snake Lord.
Lady Snake Lord.
Fascinated.
Lavetta, I think you should play her in the movie.
I don't really like snakes, but I don't really have a phobia of snakes, but I'm like, I respect the snake.
I just want to be called Lady Snake Lord. Yeah. That's really it. I don't need to touch the snake in order for that to happen, I think.
Also, this would be a great TV series, especially her up against her rival. They're trying to figure out they're one-upping each other on the battles. El Zoltz, I bet he was like, that woman.
Right.
She's a mighty foe.
I would love to play her, but I think I'm too short. That's just an emotional reaction.
Powerful and great things come in small packages.
Thanks a lot.
Right. So, but that is my Notorious Woman this week. Again, that is Lady K'abel, a.k.a. Kalomt'e K'abel, a.k.a. the Holy Snake Lord.
Oh my God. Thank you so much for her. I'm so excited by her. That's exciting. Okay. I have a very different person to talk about.
Ooh, okay.
Okay.
Different's good. Different's
good, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Here we go.
Okay.
Her name is Susan Atkins. Does she sound familiar?
Yeah, Susan Atkins sounds familiar. Is it the Atkins diet or no?
It's actually not at all.
Okay.
That's where I would have gone to. So she was born May 7th, 1948 in San Gabriel, California.
Oh?
She was English, Irish, Scottish, German. She was white.
She was just white.
With an H. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
white.
yeah.
She was the second of 3 children, and she grew up in Northern California. Until she was 13, she and her family lived in a middle-class home in San Jose, California. So according to her parents, her mother, Jean, and her father, Edward, were alcoholics.
Oh.
Which is sad. Her mother died of cancer in 1964.
Oh.
Also sad. And then over the next 3 years, her family was sort of chaotic. They moved around a lot, and she ended up leaving home to live independently. She was described by those who knew her as a quiet and self-conscious girl. She was part of her school's glee club and her local church choir. After her mom died, relatives were asked to help to look after Susan and her 2 brothers. Her father eventually moved to Los Banos, California, which is like Central California.
Okay.
With just her and one of her younger brothers, is what I read.
Okay.
When he found work on the San Luis Dam construction project, he left the kids behind to fend for themselves. So, yeah, it's not great. It's not great.
I mean, I guess the consolation is that if you have a parent that would abandon you in such a way, probably that's not the parent you want around, but damn.
Yeah. But this might get dark. So.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So she took a job during her junior year in school to support herself and her brother. And her grades went down. It all makes sense. That's not complicated.
Of course.
So in December 1966, so she's like 18-ish, she asked two classmates to go to San Francisco with her over the Christmas break. In 1967, she met a man named Charles Manson.
Oh, I know who this is. Damn it.
I'm surprised you didn't jump on this bandwagon earlier. Damn, yeah, okay. Let me keep going. I'm gonna keep going.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, this is gonna be good, but this is oof, yeah.
Okay, so he was playing guitar at the house where she was living with several friends. So several weeks later, this house was raided by the police and she was homeless. But good news, Charles Manson invited her to join his group. That's nice. They were planning on going on a summer road trip in a converted school bus that was painted completely black. Creepy much? Yeah.
Yeah.
He nicknamed her Sadie Mae Glutz. He and I guess he had one of his family members was the one who made the fake IDs for everyone. And so he and Manson was like, "You're cute. Sadie Mae Glutz is your name." She later claimed to have believed that Charles Manson was Jesus. And the quote, Manson family, it's in quotes because it's not like...
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah. So I'll be honest, like I always thought the Manson family was like his family.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the lie.
Right. It's just like the people he convinced to join him in his crazy. And they settled at the Spahn Ranch. Spahn is spelled Spahn in the San Fernando Valley in Southern California. So October 7th, 1968, she gave birth to a child. The father was Bruce White, but Manson called him Zizozose. What? Zizozose Zadfrak Glutz.
That's what he named the baby?
I can't tell. Either way, it's bad. Yeah. Stupidity will ruin us all. Seriously. Say that 1,000 times. So what happened? So during the summer of 1969, and I do love that song, Manson and his commune at the ranch, they were attracting the attention of the police because they were suspected of auto thefts. And also there were like a large number of underage runaways, and they were like, so he was trying to raise money to move away to the desert. So he encouraged drug dealing, which, it tracks. Purportedly,
but Miriam,
what?
Why was he trying to move to the desert?
Listen, this is why you don't move to the desert.
Because he wanted helter skelter to happen.
I think you know the answer to the question.
Oh God, this man's so dumb. When you find out what his actual theory was, you're like, really? So this motherfucker's that dumb. Okay.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean,
dumb and violent is a terrible combination. Dumb and violent.
That much about this, so I actually learned quite a lot whilst I researched.
Yeah.
So there was a botched drug scam by one of the family members. I'll just reiterate for people like me, not actually his family. Charles, quote, Tex Watson, we'll call him Tex because why not? It's there. Led Manson to confront and shoot a man named Bernard Lots of Papa Crow.
That name gets me every time.
Lots of Papa.
Who's black, by the way. Lots of Papa.
I know. And here's how I know. Manson thought two things. He thought he killed Crow, and he also thought Crow was a Black Panther. Like, of course he thought he was a Black Panther. Because he's black. Yeah.
All Black people are Black Panthers.
Obviously. But also, Black Panthers were not bad. What? Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. But to a Ronnie Runt who's also a white supremacist like Charles Manson, every Black person it's like if he were living if he was young today, he'd be like, every Black person is in BLM, right? And also BLM is evil. Like exactly.
It's exactly the same thing. Like, oh, he's a Black Panther. Cool. He's giving breakfast to school children. That's lovely. Like, oh, he's standing up for his rights. Oh, that's a good thing.
Stupidity and violence and racism. Oh, what a sweet package.
Tied up in a bow.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but this story is like, and it's just good. So you know, I don't know if you listened to Karina Longworth's series about this. It's probably like 4 or 5 years old. It's so great. You must remember this pod. We love Karina Longworth.
Yeah,
and she did a series. That's how I learned about it because I wouldn't read fucking Charles Manson.
No.
And she breaks it down. It's really interesting. I'm like, so at the end of it, he's just a dumb, weird, illiterate redneck? Okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. I won't go too far into that because we're talking about Susan here. But
exactly.
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
So he was neither dead nor Black Panther. That said, Manson was still like, I think the Black Panthers are going to come get me for what I just did. Even though the Black Panthers are like, I don't know any of you.
Oh, God.
So he was like, we need even more money. Cool. So around this time, someone suggested that the family acquaintance, Gary Hinman, had just inherited a large sum of money. And they were like, let's go get his money. Right. So let's convince him to join us and he'll, invest in our cause. But on July 25th, 1969, Susan and Mary Brunner and Bobby Beausoleil were sent to his house. Now, Hinman was like, I didn't inherit any money. What are you talking about? And Bobby beat him up because I don't think Bobby knew what else to do. That is my guess.
Again, stupidity and violence equals a damn shame.
A damn shame. Yes. Right. So Hinman was still like, but I literally don't have any money. Like, I just don't. Like, I didn't. Like, I don't know where you heard what you heard. So Manson came in person, swung at his head with a sword. Cool.
Of course he did.
Sliced his face and cut his ear pretty badly. He then told Susan and Mary to stay behind and tend to his wounds. And they did. Yeah, they're just like, okay, Charlie. Cool. I'm sorry, Susan. I'm not sorry, Susan. I'm just kidding. I'm not sorry. Okay. So 2 days later, after Charles calls again, Bobby had Hinman sign over the registrations to his cars, right? You can have some, and then he fatally stabbed him. So, like, twice. Okay. Bobby then left a bloody handprint on the wall, along with the words, "Political Piggy," placed there in the hopes of implicating the Black Panthers. Why are they obsessed with the Black Panthers?
Because racists are obsessed with Black people. And it's like the Black Panthers are like, why we in it? Like, what? We got enough
Gary.
stuff.
Who is Gary? And
we
why
don't know these white people.
Gary? I don't think Gary and I would be friends. So
No.
But I enjoy this part. Bobby was arrested August 7th, which is like 2 weeks later, 1969, when he was found asleep, get this, in one of Gary's vehicles. He was still wearing the bloodstained clothing that he wore during the crime, and the murder weapon was hidden in the tire well of the car's trunk. I mean,
stupidity. I'm telling you, man. It's like a Coen Brothers movie. Like, we think they make it up. It's like, no, they don't. Nope.
No, they just opened a history book. Oh my God. Okay. All right. So this summer gets, as you know, even more interesting. Mm-hmm. So on the eve of August 8th, 1969, Charles gathered Susan, Linda Kasabian, and Patricia Krenwickel in front of the ranch that they all lived in, Spawn's Ranch, and told them to go with Tex and do as they were told. I know it's weird that Charles Manson liked to control women like that, right? So later at Susan's grand jury testament, she had stated that while she was in the car, she told the group they were going to a home to get money from the people who lived there and to kill them. Okay. So they arrive at Cielo Drive just past midnight on August 9th, 1969. The people in the house were movie actress Sharon Tate, who was 8.5 months pregnant. I mean, this is a very famous thing that happened, but
yeah.
I didn't know about it. I mean, I knew of it, but not this level detail. And she was the wife of Roman Polanski, who's a film director. Her friend and former lover, Jay Sebring, who was a celebrity hairstylist, and Polanski's friend, I cannot pronounce this guy's name, Wojciech Frykowski. Probably Frykowski.
Yeah, Frykowski. Yeah. And a side note, fun fact, Sebring is the character. People think that the famous movie Hairspray is based on him. Oh, which character? Oh, the Hairspray guy. Yeah, is it Hairspray or the one, or is it Shampoo? The one with who's the older actor everyone thinks was a handsome, and I'm like, I don't see it. I think it's Shampoo. Is it Shampoo? Yeah. Shampoo. What's his name? Everyone thinks he was handsome, and I was like, I don't get it. This happens to you a lot. I'm looking at him. Warren Beatty. Duh. Warren Beatty, his character's I'm in based agreement, on by the Sebring. Way. He's talented, but I'm like, I don't get it. I might kick you out of bed. I'm not going to lie. Anyway, but Sebring is that character that Warren Beatty plays is based on Sebring. I did not know that. Mm-hmm. So, and also Frykowski's girlfriend, Abigail Folger, Folger Coffee, like her. Also, William Garrettson was the property caretaker, and his friend Stephen Parrott. So Polanski was in Europe. He wasn't at home, but everyone else that I just mentioned was there. So Tex climbs a telephone pole near the entrance gate and cuts the phone line to the house. Parrott was leaving, ran into Tex, and Tex kills him. No, he was 18? He was a kid. Yeah, he was a kid. He was a teenager. And then Tex enters through a window and lets in the women from the front door. So on Tex's direction, Susan phoned Tate, Folger, and Sebring with some of the other women's help, forced them to the living room. So Tex ties Tate and Sebring together by their necks with a long nylon rope, which he brought. This is like gross. You can fast forward if you need to. Yeah, trigger warning. Trigger. I'm going to kind of sum it up here. They all died. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah. But after they killed them, what did they write on the walls? And then, okay, wait, okay, there I am. According to Tex, I'm going to tell you what they wrote on the walls. So Charles Manson had said, leave a sign, something witchy. That was in one of the testimonies. Something witchy. And so Susan, not being very clever and remembering the other thing that was written on the wall, wrote pig on the front door in blood.
like, to once again try to put the blame on the Black Panthers.
Yeah.
Who don't know these people exist.
And also, the fact that they were trying to blame these murders, these brutal murders, they killed a pregnant fucking woman.
Yeah.
Along with 3 other people. And they tried to blame the Black Panthers. But I'm like, these people are so dumb. Now, no Black person is up there in the middle of, like, it's above Beverly Hills.
Yeah, it's like in the hills.
In the hills, in the dark, walking around.
Yep.
Ain't no Black people up there. And if they were, they would have been stopped long time before they even got all the way up there. Like,
it's just insane. Okay, so then the next night, essentially, they go to the home of people, Leno and Rosemary LaBianca, and do the whole thing again. And they did not survive. It's very sad.
Yeah, because they were upset that no one had blamed the Black Panthers yet.
I know. They were like, and Charles was like, we botched it. Let's try this shit again. So the same night, that on August 10th, he then drove Linda Kasabian, Susan, and one other woman to they went to Lebanese actor Saladin Nader, I think you'd say.
I think it's Nader. I think so.
They went to his home and he dropped them off and was like, go murder. And according to records that I saw, Linda actively took them to a different apartment to wake a stranger so as not to have to yet again be part of bad things. So they didn't kill him, thank God. But listen, Charles dropped them off, said go kill him, and then drove home by himself. He left every single person alone after this ridiculous display of inhumanity. Like, they had to hitchhike their way home.
Yeah.
Before she left, however, she did decide to take a number twosie on the stairwell. I don't know if you saw that.
Ew.
Gross. Very gross. She's very gross. And also she murders people. So on August 16th, 1969, the police raided Spahn's ranch in connection with auto thefts. The charges were later dropped and everyone was released. Soon after that, they left Spahn Ranch for Barker Ranch, which was another isolated location. However, the authorities were like, yeah, that doesn't feel right. So they raided the new location in October 1969. And then they got arrested again on auto theft charges. Just after that arrest, another member of the group implicated Susan in the Hinman murder, and she was charged with the crime. So, while she was in jail, she made some friends. Isn't that nice?
Murdering bitch.
Exactly. So there are 2 middle-aged career criminals, Virginia Graham and Veronica Ronnie Howard, to whom she confessed her participation in the Tate LaBianca murders. She essentially told them that she stabbed Tate and tasted her blood. Okay. So they reported her statements to the authorities. This, combined with information from other sources, led to the arrests of both her and the others that were involved in the Tate LaBianca murders, which was Krenwinkel, Kasabian, Tex, and someone else, Van Houten. I haven't gone into everyone because there's a lot of people.
Yeah, because it's very complicated. Like, there's plenty of documentation on this, but...
Yeah, I'm trying to stay focused on her.
Yeah, exactly.
And these 2 middle-aged career criminals later received the bulk of the $25,000 award offered by Roman Polanski for solving the murder case.
Oh, good for them.
Right?
Because this bitch is bragging about killing a bunch of people and a pregnant lady. Yep. And a fetus.
Because from what I've heard, like, there are tiers of criminals. Like,
Yeah, of course.
You can rob a store. You can't murder a child. Like, there's like, ooh. So...
And I know tell me if this is right and if you found this in your research. I know people were saying, oh, they were high, they were, and I get that. And they're young and they're wild and feral, basically. But like, if you were engaged in that when you were high or something, but if you have any kind of conscience afterwards when you sobered up, you'd be like, this is terrible. Like, but also, what did I do?
Most people I know have gotten high
and not murder somebody.
Never commit murder whilst doing so. Like, I honestly, it's a way of doing these awful things and feeling okay about it, not the other way around. Getting high is not going to make you commit murder.
Good point.
You know?
No, like, I don't think if I ever got high, I would be
when your girlfriend is like, right?
Brutally stabbed. I mean, I do that sober. It just depends on who needs to be stabbed. But, I mean, not innocent people, like,
no,
hanging out in their house, minding their own fucking business.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't buy it. And if you're going to put yourself on that level and be constantly sort of drugged and allow yourself to do that in order to follow this person you're obsessed with and to do what they tell you to do, which includes murder, like, I'm going to blame you for the whole thing.
Also, can you imagine you did this and then this motherfucker takes you out the next night and just leaves you on the PCH or wherever the fuck he left them? And it's like, find your way home.
Yep.
But brainwashing is effective. I mean,
it's pretty powerful.
But it doesn't mean even if you're brainwashed, it doesn't mean that you're innocent of your actions.
Listen, you've got to, people come from all kinds of places and they don't all commit murder, you know? Okay, so the testimony of these two women was corroborated by extensive forensic evidence, and also Linda Kasabian. She was the one person that, I'll mention her real quick. They're pretty sure she was like just a lookout. Now listen, you shouldn't look out. You should run to the cops. I'm not
I think she was the one that was like horrified, like, oh my God. Like,
she says she like froze, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
But not Susan. Susan was in it with gusto. This bitch.
She did not freeze. So she agreed to testify for the prosecution in exchange for the state of California not seeking the death penalty against her. So she appeared before a grand jury and she provided extensive testimony concerning the events on both August 8th and August 9th. When she was asked if she was willing, knowing she was not being given immunity and she might incriminate herself, she responded, quote, "I understand this and my life doesn't mean that much to me. I just want to see what is taken care of." Okay.
Oh.
So this is a little bit weird, and I'm wondering if you know more about this. So her grand jury testimony was lurid. It was very detailed. She told them who she stabbed, how she held people down. There was pleading, and she responded with, quote, "Woman, I have no mercy for you." This is all in her testimony. And she told the grand jury that her words were intended to reassure herself. Cool. Okay. I feel so bad for you, honey. I don't, actually. I don't feel bad for her at all.
Yeah, exactly.
And she then she also denied her statements about tasting blood. But it was like too little, too late, girl. And then right before the trial, she reputed her grand jury testimony in a written statement filed with the court, and she discontinued her cooperation with the prosecution. So as a result, the state of California sought the death penalty in her case. She says that she did that because, quote, "Manson sent his followers to suggest that it might be better for me and my son if I decided not to testify against him." So... yeah, and it's a little, there's still a debate about the exact details and how accurate her testimony is. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
The prosecutor, Vincent Bugliosi, wrote a book, Helter Skelter, and he wrote that he viewed her testimony as, quote, "substantially truthful, but also a few omissions concerning the events of the second night." So,
okay.
And I think this is like the only good news I have for you. Her parental rights were terminated once she was convicted of the murders. And no one, I don't know if this is good or bad, but no one in her family assumed responsibility for the child, but he was adopted and renamed. Aww. And she had no further contact with him. And I actually think that's the best thing that could happen to this kid, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard. It's awful, but it's an awful situation.
And we're assuming that the child, I mean, they say it's not Charles Manson's, but
I mean,
yeah.
Is.
Yeah, can you imagine you're doing your ancestry and you trace it back?
Shit,
you're like,
right?
What?
Yeah, some people should stay away.
You're like, oh, hell no. But yeah, don't leave that baby in that mess.
I mean, right? So she claimed that, quote, Manson told us that we were going to have to get on the stand and claim we had deliberately and remorselessly, and with no direction from him at all, committed all the murders ourselves.
What a fucking coward.
I know, right? He a little bitch. Okay.
Yeah, he was definitely a little bitch.
Yeah. So throughout the trial, her and her co-defendants attempted to disrupt proceedings, and they were noted for both their lack of remorse and their lack of concern for their own fate. They sang Manson-penned songs while being led to the courtroom. He, wrote the music to sing. Okay?
Yeah, this is why I don't believe when she's like, oh, he threatened me. It's like, no, you were doing this with a lot of gusto, girl.
Yeah. So all 4 defendants were sentenced to death on March 29th, 1971. She was transferred to California's new women's death row on April 1971. So after the Tate LaBianca trial, she was convicted then for the Hinman murder. She pleaded guilty at this point. She, I don't know, she contradicts herself a lot. She testified that she hadn't known him, that she hadn't known he was to be robbed or killed, although she then later wrote an autobiography in which she contradicts herself. So,
yeah.
You know.
It's also like she was very young when this happened, and it's just like when you have life in prison and you know, depending on the state, it's not just 20 years, it's like 150 years or whatever. And you're on death row, like you have a lot. You're 18 when this happens, right?
Yeah,
18
about
through
18,
20
19,
when you're going through. Then you hit about 30, 35, and you're like, I'm in jail for this motherfucker. And then you start reassessing, and then you start making excuses for your actions. And then you start, you know what I mean? Like you go through a lot of things.
You change your narrative in your head. And I do believe that you start to believe that changed narrative. You know?
Yep. Because no one ever believes that they're an awful, terrible person. Like,
that's true.
They believe I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm being powerful. I'm protecting myself and da-da-da. Or like, yeah, I have a right to do this. No one is like, oh, I'm evil. Ooh, you know, the twisting the mustache or the hair or whatever. Like, you know, but they were so young. And I mean, one could say that because she was so young, she didn't really quite understand, even though she understood that they murdered 4 people. Well, 4 people and a child and an unborn child. That was something that she had to make peace with because you did that shit. You did that shit, girl. Like,
I mean, there's something, I don't know if the word is off that I'm thinking of, but there's something off to be able to even function knowing that you did that and on purpose.
Yeah.
Even if you were on drugs, even if you had a bad childhood, I'm, looking for my empathy card and I can't find it.
I mean, didn't we do Tina Turner, who was abandoned by both her parents?
Yes.
And she went on and became like
Listen,
a superstar, like, so.
And a kind superstar and a giving and a generous.
Yeah.
Okay. So she arrived on death row April 23rd, 1971, but her death sentence was automatically commuted to life in prison the next year following California Supreme Court's People versus Anderson decision, which invalidated all death sentences imposed in California prior to 1972.
Oh.
So in 1977, her autobiography, in which she goes in and out of truth, is my guess. That's alleged. I don't know, but it's a solid guess. The name of the book is Child of Satan, Child of God, in which she recounted the time spent with Manson and the family and her religious conversion to born-again Christianity, along with her prison experiences. So she found the Lord in prison. Cute. It's a little too late. Okay. She married twice while she was in prison.
What?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Mm-hmm.
This bitch killed 4 people and an unborn child.
Yes, she did. She did that. Yeah.
Was part of Charles Manson's quote-unquote family. And she managed to get married twice while being incarcerated?
Yes. Yes, she did.
What the fuck am I doing wrong? Hinge, I want my money back. Okay.
I'm gonna explain who she married, and maybe it'll paint a picture. It's a little bit clearer.
There's that. Okay.
So first she married a lovely gentleman named Donald Lee Leisure on September 2nd, 1981. She became Leisure's 35th wife.
Oh, God. It gets worse. Okay.
But they did divorce because he wanted to marry someone else. Again. So
35th? Why? How old is this man?
I don't know. But he then went on to number 36. So, I mean.
Okay.
Because listen, after 10, why are you marrying that man? After 5, why are you marrying that man? You know, he's had 5 wives. Don't marry that man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, I was making the joke about Hinge because, I mean, we all know you can marry. You can get married. It's like who you marry is the important thing, right? Like,
do you want to be married to that man? That's the question.
Exactly. 35th? What? Damn.
Yeah.
People got a lot of time on their hands. Like,
listen, getting married is not free.
I was going to say that's exhausting and expensive.
To the state, you know? And then, you need to although I mean, obviously here there was no honeymoon, right?
Right.
So then she married again in 1987 to James W. Whitehouse, a graduate of Harvard Law School who was 15 years her junior and had represented her at her 2000 and 2005 parole hearings.
Whoa. What? You're fucking kidding me, right?
I am not.
She married a young hot thing.
Yes, she did.
With a Harvard Law degree.
Harvard Law School.
I need to get my cougar lady life on, huh? I'm doing it wrong.
I'm going to say this. I don't want you to marry James W. Whitehouse. If he proposes, say no. No, you make poor life choices.
I suspect not everybody who goes to Harvard is impressive.
This is a good example of that, I think.
Oh, God.
A lesson learned, if you will. And he maintained a website dedicated to her legal representation. That's a romance right there.
Oh, there it is. Okay. Is a grifter. Okay.
Yeah, he's taking her money.
And other donations.
And lots of donations, I'm sure.
Yeah. I mean, allegedly.
Allegedly, they love each other so much. Okay.
Yeah, it's perfect marriage. Yep.
Yeah, it's like where's the Hallmark movie of this? I'm sure it's coming. I'm sure I'll watch it. Okay. Between 1976 and 2009. She was denied parole a total of 13 times. So prior to her 2009 parole hearing, the website that he maintained, right, claimed she was paralyzed over 85% of her body and unable to sit up or be transferred to a wheelchair. So she had been sick. I didn't go into detail, but every time she was up for parole and she wanted compassionate leave, family members showed up and said no and said, she's married and my daughter is dead. No, She can't leave. She can die in jail, like rotting. That's fine.
Well,
I mean,
I get it. Yep.
Yeah, like don't murder. It's a bad idea. In April 2008, it was revealed that she had been hospitalized for more than a month was first an undisclosed illness, and then it turned out to be terminal brain cancer, and her left leg had been amputated. So on September 24th, 2009, she died at the Central California Women's Facility in Chowchilla, which is a city I've never heard of, but I like the name of it.
Chowchilla.
Her husband, James Whitehouse, subsequently released a statement saying that, quote, her last whispered word was amen, end quote. And that is Susan Atkins.
Wow. Yeah. That's a lot.
I'm tired.
I know. I mean,
right? She did a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's also a testament and a cautionary tale. Like, you know, like be careful who you hang around with. A, don't murder. B, and when you have a chance to make amends, like at the trial, do that. Yeah,
I mean, I don't know. Like, I can't put a finger on it. I'm not a therapist or psychiatrist or anything like that, but I'm going, maybe they shouldn't live in society. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Maybe she, and I'm glad that she wasn't able to keep her child, because also, it sounds like, and also, can you imagine their family members? Like, she made money from that book, or she was trying to make money from that book.
That's why she wrote it.
Yeah.
And she never, like, what I'm getting is that she just converted to a religion.
Yeah. From the religion of Charles Manson.
I'm really sorry. I did so wrong. You know, from what I'm gathering, it wasn't so much about remorse.
Right.
You know, maybe I'm wrong. You tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah, we could be wrong. Yeah.
But I didn't find it when I looked for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But wow, Susan Atkins. Wow, that's a good one. Because, you know, again, there's a lot of information on Charles Manson. There's way too much information on Charles Manson and the Manson family. But it's interesting to hear it from particularly one of the Notorious women's points of view, because I think a lot of people will tell it from Linda Kasabian's point of view, because she seemed to have remorse, whereas Susan was one of the ones that didn't really seem to have much remorse. And she's one of the ones that were in the courtroom acting out, being disruptive. And that's, I mean, I didn't mention it before, but that was one of the things that one of the fathers, and it was Sharon Tate's father, I don't remember, I'm sorry, had said when she was up for one of the paroles, she said, I remember 30 years ago, you waltzing in here, giggling and laughing, and my child is dead right now. So no, I don't care what your situation is. Like that, they were sort of known for that. They were just like having a good time. Having a good time and reveling in, you know. Yeah. It's wow. Thank you for that. Like that is a good one. That
She's
is a good
lady.
one. Yeah.
Notorious.
Yeah. Wow.
Do you need a minute, Lavetta?
Oh, man. Like it, I mean, again, like when I heard the, because again, I'm like, Charles, he has a swastika carved into the middle of his forehead. I'm hard pass. Hard pass.
Yeah. Also, like when you see his face and you're like, yes, I'm going to like immediately not like you. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, and when you fight, because I was never interested, right? And then when I found out about it, I was like, so this fucker was a failed musician, and he came to LA, and because he couldn't get a record deal, he got mad at all the rich people, and so he decided he wanted to kill a bunch of rich people and then blame it on black people. Fuck him forever.
Yeah.
Like,
and like that's. I want to say fuck his followers forever. Like, I want to say that. 'Cause like,
and listeners, what I just said, is exactly what it was. It's not more complicated than that.
Yeah.
He's not some like great genius.
No.
He's a barely literate.
I was going to say he was dumb, honestly.
Like racist who grew up, he was abused. Yes, of course. He basically had heard, oh, if I go to LA, somebody give me a record deal. If I seem cool, he comes out here, and because he doesn't succeed. And mind you, he hooked up with like some of the Beach Boys, and they actually gave him an opportunity to come in. This motherfucker wouldn't even practice. He just thought because he looked cool, he should become the next Jim Morrison.
Lavetta, I've been in shows with people like that. It's frustrating. They never learn their lines.
And so can you imagine? But I mean, and again, this is about her and not him. But like when I heard that, I was just like, this idiot. But stupidity, hate, and violence is a terrifying mix.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, he must have been somewhat charming. Everyone thought he was Jesus for a minute.
Well, and that's part of the podcast that I heard. It was talking about like just the cultural shifts in American society then, and what sort of opened up briefly a way for him to kind of get into get access to certain people in Hollywood. That was like the 60s kind of opened up culturally and kind of like broke down like social norms in a way. And like for every hippie that's like, it's all peace and love, like let's just get along. There's like, oh, it's all peace and love and drugs and let's steal and da-da-da-da. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like...
It's like you went too far.
But then like you said, I mean, a lot of people come up in difficult situations, and Susan could have chosen, even if she found herself in that situation.
I mean, Linda Kasabian, I was looking up her, and she was like, oh, no.
She was like, can I get out of here?
Like, yeah.
Like, let me get the hell out of here. So a few of them from the family, it's so funny when you said family, it reminded me of, I saw the new Fast and the Furious is out, and what is it? Fast and the Furious 25th? I don't know which
27, something like that. 42.
Their whole thing is like, we're family. And it's like, I don't know, that's always a good thing.
I'm going to walk away next time someone says that to me.
Yes, well, but thank you. I mean, that is fascinating because I've never heard it from any of the women's point of view. So
yeah, it's so interesting.
Yeah. All right, guys, that wraps it up for our latest episode of Notorious Women Podcast. Remember to follow us on all the things and also to subscribe, write us a 5-star review.
Pretty please.
Share.
Top.
Get the word out there to all your friends and family. And again, we always say it and we mean it because it's very simple. Just copy the link and send it to your friend that you think might be interested.
If you go to the podcast and the 3 dots at top, just click it and it'll say send, and you can just click send and then like to send away to like whoever.
Yeah,
See,
copy link.
Sometimes people need very specific rules like me. I need that.
People are busy. I get it. And so if you send them a link and they can just click on it in their text or their email, you're like, yeah, let's do this. And so they're like, huh. And then also if you want to support us, and you want to just, help us ladies out, help out the podcast, we would appreciate everything. You can do that for as little as $2 a month over at patreon.com. You can also do a one-time donation. We appreciate the moolah always because, we're not really getting rich off of this quite yet.
No, not yet. It's not happening. I don't know why.
It's like, we love our listeners, the ones that we have. We do. But, we always could use more.
Listen, if we make money off this podcast, we can do other podcasts too. I have ideas.
Oh, I got a lot of ideas. It involves murder. No,
I know that.
But you can do that at patreon.com/notoriouswomen. That's patreon.com/notoriouswomen. And Miriam's going to tell you other ways you can get in contact with us or support the show.
So we also have an Instagram page. Come to our Instagram page. Come, children. Just kidding. I just quoted something and I just became my husband by just quoting something randomly. I'm sorry. Yes. So our Instagram is Notorious Women Podcast. It's very easy to find, and it's a lot of fun. And you can DM us there, but you can also email us at notoriouswmpod@gmail.com.
Yay!
And we'd love to hear from you.
Yes, we would. And all right, guys, on that note, we will see you next week. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.